to be the bonding element between these various constituencies in order to take things forward. So that's my answer to your question. But of course, the more you study, the more you're likely to ask the tough questions. What's happening here is the PR agency, the PR profession has become so huge that if you want to keep the mills running, you can now get on your email and a PR handout on just about anything that you would want. Political parties have their PR units, of course corporate houses have their PR units. How do you go beyond the PR release, press release? How do you go beyond what you are told by officialdom? Where else you source your information? How do you double check? Unless you are familiar with the issue, unless you study the issue. So there is an absolute need to focus on a few things, make it clear that you've studied it, because otherwise it's terrifying. During the riots, the terror attacks in Mumbai, I was amazed to see, in some of the Hindi channels, the first question the uncle was asked, you can see what's happening, the people are running around, cops are descending, firing is taking place. First question, हाँ ये बताइए वहाँ का माहौल कैसा है? And you can see in front of your eyes that the माहौल is terrible, the people are nervous, the people are afraid. This माहौल, the same thing happened during the post-Godhra situation. Right? You can see shops being burnt here. First question, हाँ ये बताइए सोनल जी माहौल कैसा है? So Sonal ji would say, "Maha, ठीक नहीं है, etc." You can see from the spot.
It wasn't any TV.
It wasn't any TV that I can watch for. When I started.
सहानुभूतीच्या 100 शब्दापेक्षा मध्यस्थीचा एक हात बरा आणि दुसरा एक आहे जे का रंजले गांजले त्याची म्हणे जो आपुले तो ती साधू ओळखावा देव तेथे जाणावा. Even the president sent this when taking the oath. If it is like that, then why the media not taking the examples of like Chanakya, Kabir, big Zakir Hussain, Rajendra Prasad, these big shots, big people who have done some sacrifice for the country. Why not taking? Why they are not giving the moral stories in the big pages, special pages every day? The youths are getting destroyed. They don't know manners. They don't have values of this. In the bars also they fight with the passengers. The conductors fight. What is this going on?
I need a guidance actually from you. Because we are hosting the festival next year in Goa, and to promote the festival, we are hosting a press meet in International Center. The reason why in fact, I called a newspaper head to invite her for the festival, for the press meet, and the language she used was very obnoxious. I am not illiterate. Do not I have the right to invite her for a festival? She was not ready to listen to me. Maybe the news for her is not spicy or hot. But for me as a citizen, I am doing something to promote art, and that's the reason why I had called her to invite her for the festival. I was just asking her email ID, but she was not even ready to talk to me. So how do I react, and how should I go about it?
She shouldn't have behaved the way she did.
No,
that it was her conduct was unprofessional.
I'm a normal citizen. I do not
so I'm saying she shouldn't have behaved the way you said she did. That was wrong on her part.
Yes.
Her conduct should be more professional.
How do I invite the reporters for the press meet if I have to? If nobody bothers, a head of a local newspaper using very obnoxious language. So how do I go about it?
Well, I don't want to sound cynical. But if you got a celebrity to attend,
of course there are celebrities.
Then they will all flock to it. Don't you worry.
The thing is, my point is that.
Well, let her miss the story. Let her miss the story. She'll be put up. Let her miss. If you've got others coming in, and because what you're doing is you're taking a personal incident and trying to draw a larger conclusion, which I think is incorrect. I think that lady should not have spoken to you the way she did. But I don't think that is the way for a professional house to respond. But if the others come and she misses the story, too bad for her and too bad for her papers.
Yeah. Good evening, my name is Danushka. I have two questions. The first one being, nowadays we see a trend where media houses, newspapers and news channels are being owned by bigwigs in society. They have stakes of politicians in it. So how far are we going to channelize good governance to such channels and newspapers when we have actors involved in it and politicians? This is my first question. My second question would be using the example of the Commonwealth Games. No doubt the scam got exposed, But in the beginning, our Indian reporters and our Indian news channels, newspapers, portrayed India in a very bad way with regards to the preparations. No doubt it was true, but to what extent do we take this when there is an international event involved where we show that our country is at a much lower level than the rest of the world?
First of all, media is not the Ministry of External Affairs whose job it is to improve the image of the government. So there is no point expecting the media to play this role. What was your first question?
About media being owned by...
Second, this discussion took place today morning also, and comment was very simple. That nature of money is very important. If an Arun Puri runs India Today, if a Vineet Jain runs Times of India, if a Prannoy Roy runs NDTV, there is a difference between their money and Subhash Chandra's money, Subhash Chandra's ZTV's money. If Mr. Subhash Chandra tomorrow feels that there is no profit, there is only loss in media, I should revert to exporting rice, he will revert to exporting rice. Whereas the four names I have mentioned, there are others also, ABP for instance, Anand Azad Group in Calcutta. Their primary and only activity is media. Alright, so therefore, their 10 rupees will be equal to 1 lakh of Mr. Subhash Chandra. They will do media only. The media run by or owned by builders, politicians, etc. We don't consider them serious players at all. We concentrate on serious players whose nature of money is serious, and see, we will find a difference. There are two responses to that.
Mr. Patgaonkar, fill us up a wee bit on the role of the media in good governance and in the past as to what gave rise to this problem, and perhaps what are the steps that may be contemplated in delivering good governance through media in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Reports are meant only for the government of India. I have visited the state 10 times. After every visit, we have presented a report to the Home Minister. This is strictly a matter between the group of interlocutors and the Home Ministry. We've given an interim political report 7 weeks ago. I hope to give them the final political report at the end of September. Then, in its wisdom, the Government of India will decide or not decide whether to bring that report to the public domain. So what my reports contain is something that I am not at liberty to tell you. What I can do, however, is to request the director of the International Center Goa to hold another meeting sometime in the month of November after I've submitted my report, so that I can give you my views on media and governance in Jammu and Kashmir. Because if I were to spell out those views to you now, I will not be able to set foot in Jammu and Kashmir over the next 2 months. So please have patience, and I will certainly come back here and speak about it. It's very complicated. It's a complex situation. There's no easy way out. I think the manner in which we've been thinking about J&K for 63 years has been very severely flawed, and that is something that we need to discuss after the report is submitted. We visited the state 10 times so far. We have met more than 600 delegations, or approximately 5,000 odd people from all walks of life. We have covered 18 of the 22 districts. We hope to cover the remaining 4 in the month of August. And I don't think that such extensive discussions have been held in the state in the past 63 years. We've had outstanding people as interlocutors earlier, but they weren't, for whatever reason, in a position to do what we did. So on the basis of what we've learned, on the basis of what we've read, we will be giving our analysis. We'll be giving also kind of roadmap that we see. And we very much hope that this document will be in the public domain so that it's discussed in Parliament and discussed in the nation as a whole. But I'd be very happy as soon as this is done to initiate a discussion on Jammu and Kashmir here in this very hall. Once it's done, then my lips are sealed.
Comforting आपलं जे आपण भाषण आपलं केलं सकाळी मी येऊन शिकवलं त्याच्याबद्दल मला सांगायचं आहे तुम्ही म्हणाला त्याचं जे आहे लोकांना जे पाहिजे ते तुम्हाला तुमचा पेपर देतोय. म्हणजे आता बदल लोकांच्या मेंटॅलिटी विचार बदललेला आहे आणि म्हणून त्याला प्रश्न आपल्याला की ऐश्वर्या रायचं ते गरोदर आहे म्हणून तो पहिल्यापणावरती फोटो किंवा इंटरेस्टच्या नंतर चालतो किंवा अशा प्रकारे जे सांगितलं तर आणि म्हटलं मग तो पेपर काही अशा जर बातम्या दिल्या नाही लोकांना ते पाहिजे असतं आणि म्हणून तुम्ही ते छापता आणि ते जर दिलं नाही तर काही वेळातच तो तुमचा पेपर बंदच होऊन पडेल असं तुम्ही सांगितलं. त्याच्याशी मी अजिबात सहमत नाही म्हणजे चुकीचं आहे. फार मोठं मी माझे विचार सांगते मी सांगितलेलं आहे. तर मला असं सांगायचं आहे की इथं हिंदू आहे, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस आहे, तर ते कसे चालतात त्यांची सर्क्युलेशन किती आहे आणि त्यांच्यात गोव्याच्या सुद्धा 2 पानं असतात महत्वाच्या गोष्टी घडल्या तर ती 2 पानं आता येत आहेत आणि त्यांना ते पेज तुमचं पेज 3 जे आहे तुम्ही बोलत माझं असं म्हणत तुम्ही म्हणत नाही पाटगावकर असं म्हणत नाही तुमचा टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया तुम्ही लोकांना ती सवय लावता तरुण पिढीला तुम्ही सवय लावता असं मला म्हणायचं आहे. ती बघणारे लोक फारच कमी असतात आणि हे खरं जर्नलिझमचं काम नव्हे. आणि टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया हे इतकं जुनं पेपर आहे आणि मला इफ आय रिमेंबर करेक्टली रिकलेक्ट करेक्टली तर त्यावेळेला हे जे होतं ब्रिटिश सरकार होतं त्याला सुद्धा सपोर्ट करणारा टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया होता असं मला वाटतं. आणि अशा याच्यात आणि त्याने भरपूर पैसा कमावलेला जैन ग्रुप जो आहे स्वतःची मला जैन माझी ओळख सांगितली का मी सांगत नाही शकत तो प्रकार त्यांच्याबद्दल माझं मत चांगलंच होतं. नंतर आता बदललंय त्यांच्यात पूर्ण आहे सगळं मला माहित आहे काय ते. हे जे आहे ना तुम्ही म्हणाला नाही तर तो बंदच पडेल म्हणून बंद पडलं तर मला वाटतं असं ती म्हणू नये पण मला सांगावं असं वाटतं तुम्ही आमच्या गोव्यात आला बंद पडला तर जैन ग्रुपाचं काही नुकसान होणार नाही आणि त्याची जर दुसरा कुठला पेपर देईल पण काय ती तुमची जबाबदारी आहेच आहे की लोकांना एक प्रकारचं आता तुम्ही सांगितलं स्पेस आहे अमुक सगळं ते द्यायला पाहिजे आणि राजकारण आहे बाकी सगळं आहे ते सगळं ठीक आहे पण हे जे तुम्ही सांगा 3 पेज वगैरे ती चांगली पद्धत नव्हे एवढंच मला सांगायचं आहे. मला जर काय हे लागलं असेल तुम्ही सांगा पण हे मला स्पष्टपणे मगापासून मी ऐकलेलं आहे आणि मला वाटतं त्या बाबतीत मिसेस देशमुखने जे काही सांगितलं काही गोष्टी आणि त्यांच्यावरती जी टीका झाली खरं म्हणजे त्यांनी सांगितलं ते योग्यच सांगितलं आहे पण त्याच्यात म्हणजे त्यांनी सांगितलं त्याच्यात तुम्ही बोलत नाही पण मला एवढंच सांगायचं होतं की हिंदू सारखा पेपर इतका निष्क्रिय आहे सगळ्यात आणि त्यांचं प्रचंड असा खप आहे कितीतरी राज्यात तो चालतो. त्याचप्रमाणे इंडियन एक्सप्रेस त्यांना काय ते त्यांना त्यांचं विशिष्ट हे आहे की नाही त्यांना सन्मान आहे म्हणजे ऑल ओव्हर द वर्ल्ड मी म्हणेन सगळ्या जगावरती सुद्धा हिंदू पेपरला एक प्रेस्टिज आहे हिंदूला. मी तो रेग्युलरली घेते हिंदू इंडियन एक्सप्रेस टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया पण इथे गोव्याची आवृत्ती आता ती येते पण 3 पेज पाहिजे तुम्ही मला तसं तुम्ही स्वतः बघा काढून ठेवता ती सगळी पेपर मी बाजूला काढून ठेवते. तर एवढंच मी मला स्पष्ट करायचं होतं आणि मला खात्री आहे ही जी मी भावना व्यक्त केली त्याच्याशी गोव्याची आणि इथे जमलेले सुद्धा लोक बरेच लोक त्याशी सहमत असतील.
View that content should not be dictated to the media. I was wondering when you were talking about advertorials. Advertorials are basically money dictating the content. I am not on the ethical thing of it. How do somebody like me who cannot afford that kind of a money, how do I compete with those advertorials? That is my question. Wouldn't allowing advertorials necessarily be promoting dictation of the contents by money? Second, the major issue for me is, I would agree with you that we all understand what is advertorial, whether there is a different print or there is not a different print. But then, when advertorials are published in a newspaper, necessarily that newspaper, I mean the people who give those advertorials, they buy silence of the newspaper also. If I am a politician, I not only pay for my birthday ads, but I also pay for it that for next, at least for the next 15 days, the newspaper does not write anything against me. This is the culture that advertorials are breeding. It is not just something is in a different print, etc., etc. Do we tolerate this?
I have a couple of observations leading to questions from what Dr. Padgaonkar said. Firstly, I would like to ask you that when you mentioned about the fact that the media should not get co-opted and the media should be showing the mirror, I fully agree with you. But the point is, while it should not get co-opted, it also behooves the press, or whether it is the electronic media or the print media, to not to be selective in the application of principles. For example, you question the ability of Anna Hazare or Baba Ramdev to act as pressure groups. Now, would the same principle apply to the institution of the National Advisory Council? Or just because the chairperson of the NAC happens to be elected, but actually the body is a body of unelected people who are very inscrutable, but who present everything from an anti-conversion bill down to a land acquisition bill and are beyond scrutiny. Can we accept them in this model of good governance as fair game? That's the first question. The second one is probably to Mr. Vinod Dua, and this probably stems about 9 o'clock prime time debates. There's a feeling about these 9 o'clock prime time debates that they're actually becoming khap panchayats. But actually they begin with a certain agenda. The preordained agenda seems to play itself out. At the end of 1 or 1.5 hours, the direction of the debate has been channelized in a certain way, where the media is judge, jury, and executioner. And thirdly, to Dr. Padgaonkar again, you talked about this whole issue of Karnataka. And I think something good comes out of that as well. What we have seen is, we have seen a leadership contest in which there was a very close race and one side won. I think it's good for Indian democracy. But I saw the Indian media even criticizing that exercise. If you don't hold that exercise, they say that parties are undemocratic. And if you hold the exercise, well, they say, well, this is just showing the split within the party. I think what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. And we have to hold two preferences.
And the others, I personally make no difference between the two. I think we give equal weightage to what the members of the NAC have to say and to what Anna Hazare and his team, for example, have to say. I have no problems there. NAC, however, is a quasi-official body. And as a quasi-official body, therefore, enjoys a certain privilege, alright, which is not available to the others. I read in the Hindu 2 days ago a superb article by one of the NAC people on the anti-communal bill, very well argued, etc. But in my eyes, anyone who contributes to a public debate on an issue of topical interest, regardless of whether you are appointed, elected, not elected, doesn't really matter in the end. That's the position I take in the matter.
See, there's no point trying to defend the indefensible. Fact is that this creature, this beast, has perhaps outlived its utility. As Dilip also mentioned, same 6 people, shouting, screaming, talking, yelling at each other day after day, night after night on different subjects. We, in the newsrooms, often refer to them as Rudalis. Alright? There is a trap from the guest desk also, guest coordination also, a fatigue sensing when day in and day out you are expected to bring in guests. So what happens is, you end up having a list of favorites, but easily available. Add to it a list of paratroopers. That at the last moment, I mean, if you don't have a guest, at the last moment, your understanding is with those guests that you land as paratroopers at the last moment. Okay? That's the second part. Third is, there is a resource crunch. So, news channels prefer not to send their teams to do stories, but it's an easy and less expensive way out to have this. And the fourth, I think I remember, we started it all in the year 1985. I think it was my program only, called Janamani, where people saw for the first time, or some other program, I don't remember, 2 politicians confronting each other. Now, that kind of mock parliamentary cockfighting has run its course. But there's paucity of ideas, and a new idea hasn't emerged as yet. But people are acutely aware of this, that every night, if we are the ones to have 6 people shouting, yelling, screaming at each other, it does not necessarily make a good program. The other part of your question, the judge, the executioner, well, that has also been discussed in the past that medium is nascent. People who joined television, it's hardly 8 years old, 8 to 9 years old. It was 2003 that most of the channels came. And when the people who joined, they were in their mid-20s. I think there is a tendency to wield vicarious power. So be judgmental also, pronounce the judgment also, and demand resignation also, as has been objected to by many people here. All these things point to one fact, that this beast has outlived its utility, its age. We need a new idea, I'm sure there must be people struggling for it, at least I am. In fact, I suggested, why don't we have news with audience? Have some participants and have an audience, and then you read the news item and have a 3-hour-long bulletin with all your bureaus up. The way we handle elections, the way we handle budget. So for 3-4 hours, the television screen comes alive with inputs from all over. So that we are not the only ones who are commenting or judging. This is one idea. I'm sure, something will happen soon, but I cannot defend the indefensible. Even I find it boring. I switch on, I go on to some other channel. Whenever I see 4 windows or 6 windows, as if it's a panacea for just about every problem. That's what happens.
Okay, on these two diverse views, and you can know that the media is not a homogeneous body as we all think it to be. We end, and I think it's been a very, very interesting evening. And thank you all for posing all interesting questions and listening to them. Thank you for coming, and I thank my panel, each one of them, very individually and sincerely. Thank you, Vinod, for coming. And I know how much you are very, very busy. You will run back on Monday to do your program. So thank you for coming. Thank you, Mr. Paddam, for coming in between your Jammu visits. And thank you, Vinita, for coming. And thank all 3 of you for being here and all of you for being here. Thank you very much.